right, we are here at Tartaglia's Rod Shop as always. We got another day. Today's a special day because we got a race prep BMW. Edgar has an event that he's going to. I'll be there as well, obviously. But I'm going to run you guys through what we do for race prep. So, real simple. He dropped off his trailer. So I got to hook up the trailer to my truck. Hey, nice trailer. It's nice. Got to hook to my truck. This is my cream puff. And once we get that all hooked up, I can unload the car. And we also have to do some maintenance to his trailer because the trailer was bought secondhand, not brand new. And we noticed a couple issues with the brakes last time, was making some crazy noises. So hang tight. You guys just can watch this video. It's gonna be pretty cool. Ow, I just got bit by a mosquito on my ear. any air injection on the system anymore, so there's a lot of emissions controls we eliminated. And unfortunately, when it's cold, it runs real heavy on fuel. So it doesn't like to idle when it's initially started, but as soon as it's warm, it's fine. So it probably needs a custom to go on a dyno and tune, but we just decided to run this motor and beat it up. It's got 182,000 miles on it, and that is the original mileage on the car. So why not? Transmission and motor, 182,752 miles. M as in Mary, 54. This is not an S, so it is not an M package car. This is a standard 330 CI coupe from 2002. Obviously, we eliminated some things and gutted the exhaust. We did upgrades to the fuel system and air intake, obvious. But see, now as soon as it gets a little heat, it idles and runs good, see? So it's just that initial startup sometimes gets weird. So camera set on my head. All right, so usually what I do is I just try to stay as straight as possible because I really can't see. Mirrors still work, so I can dip them down. It's got auto mirror, so it will dip on its own, but I like to make it so it doesn't do that. I like to see what I'm doing. So it's real close to the tire rack. That's why we have that locator on the removable fender on the driver's side. So what I normally do is I just feel the boards. We do not have race ramps, we just have the 2x8s or whatever they are, and they work fine. He wants to measure for race ramps, which we will do. Should be almost off. Perfect. Bad for a stock M54, huh, boys, girls, huh? Kids. All right, I'm gonna let this thing run a little bit, hop out, make sure everything's good, make sure the fan's working, which it was. We had no issues at the track. The only thing we've had issues with is the transmission is getting a little noisy. But like I said, 182,000 miles on it. You have to kind of expect that. So, hang out. Okay, the BMW's in the garage. I got it on the lift, and thank God I have air conditioning. So I turned that on because it's getting humid. So full race prep, all depends on what we're doing. We're not technically racing the car yet. He is only doing testing. So what he did this season, we built the car. As you can see, we've done these are tech specs, S.C.D.A. So that is the Sports Car Driving Association. If you guys want to have a cool experience, and you can buy packages, S.C.D.A. is Elvin Gallard, and you can look them up if you go on their website. I believe it is scda1.com. I'll give them a push because they're great people, and for the price, you get instructional, You have classroom in between runs if you have any questions. I have not ever been around road racing as much as I have this season. I've only been to a few different situations, and that was really as just a spectator. I had a chance to watch a race at Loudon one year. I had pit passes, so I got to see NASCAR up close, and that was really cool. But I've always been into drag racing. So once I started going to the S.C.D.A. and met all the people involved, see the different people that come and show up with different types of vehicles. Some have stock type cars, performance cars. Some people come with full race prep cars, and what they're doing is they're doing a shakedown. So we go to certain tracks. He signed up for Lime Rock a couple times this year. He wanted to go to Palmer, where you saw the video I just posted. So if you haven't, go check it out. It's pretty wild. We went to Pocono. I mean, you're running these really nice tracks, and the people treat you like gold, and it's not a lot of money. He gets 4 sessions of about, I think it's 25-minute runs a piece. So out of those 4 sessions, once in a while he'll pull in to the pit area real quick during a session, and I'll check tire temps and tire pressures. So what we're trying to do there is we're trying to make sure that his slicks, because he does run, and I'll show you, these are the Hoosier. Let's see here. So these are Hoosiers, and I'll give a shout out to Hoosier. They make a great tire. And these are the A7, and they are 295/30 18s, and we run those on all 4 corners. These tires get rotated every time we are done with an event and we are prepping for another event. These tires like to be around 34 to 36 degrees when they're hot. So that is during the race. How do you figure that out? Well, the only way to figure it out is to test. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Now, the other thing, we have some pretty serious Öhlins suspension system on the car. It's not the top of the line, but it's a really good system that was made for this car through somebody that Edgar knew in the racing scene. So that worked out really well. We changed a few things last race, and what we have is a logbook of everything we do. So if we ever go back to Palmer, and let's say we run a race at Palmer, we have something to go back on and actually say, okay, well, we had tire pressure at 29 PSI. It was 78 degrees, roughly 80 degrees out, low humidity. And those are all factors, because the hotter it is outside, the hotter the track temperature, the more cars that are on the track, the hotter the track temperature, the hotter the tire. So a lot of it's going to change when you get to the track, especially with suspension. Are you going to go stiffer? Are you going to go looser? Softer on the suspension, on the down, on the up, because these are multi-adjustable. We can change ride height. So there's a lot of factors that go into why we're doing this, and I agree with it. Testing is crucial. It's the same like drag racing. If you don't test your car and you just go to an event and think you're going to perform, you are wrong. So just remember that, and you could get hurt. So he wanted to make sure this car was good. We had this car all the way down to nothing and put it all back together in 4 months. So, I mean, you can't just expect the car to perform. Has it been performing? 100%. It's just one of those things. We didn't go crazy on the drivetrain, but we went crazy on the car, and the car can handle what we have. If we put more power in the car, is it going to be a problem? I don't know. I don't think so. This car it handles like a beast, and he loves it. But then again, he's new to driving. So let's say we put an experienced professional driver in it. So that's the other thing. S.C.D.A., if you want one of the instructors to go with you, you can ask them and they'll take a ride. They give you pointers on every point of that track, so you know where the apex of the turns are, you know where your braking points are, you know where your acceleration points, what gears you should be in. They know. So they give you little pointers along the way. They'll take an in-car ride. So that's why we have the car set up with a passenger seat with belts. So we also have a fire safety system. If you look in the back there, that's the tank. And we have nozzles. So I did not only put a nozzle, if you can see, I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a nozzle here, and then there's a nozzle on the passenger side. And then we have engine bay nozzles. The reason we did that is because if you have an instructor in the car and God forbid something happens, he can pull his fire suppression and it would save both people in the car, hopefully. So that's the plan. So that's why we did that. Normally this would be a single seat car, if it were a full race car, which technically it is, but he's not there yet. So we're being patient. We want to make sure. So to get back to S.C.D.A, he signed up for multiple driving days, and he chose a bunch of different tracks that he might be racing in a, I believe it's the GTS 3 class, which is a very competitive class. So that's gonna, it might happen next season. I don't know, it's up to him. So as far as prepping the car, every time he brings it into me, it's right before the event, usually 2 weeks prior. That way we have room for error or parts situations, because a lot of the parts have been tough to get. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but trying to order parts online, trying to get certain types of specialty parts, especially German parts, Bimmer World we order a lot from. There are a few local guys that we use that are race car guys. They get us parts, but it takes like a month. Luckily, we have to do an upgrade on the car. So the power steering pump is still stock. The the reservoir is stock, and it still has the stock cooler, which is just this little two little bars here. It's just a tube that runs in and out. We're changing that because we're having issues. If you look here, there's a little vent on the cap. Well, we're having issues, and you can see it's a little wet with oil right here. That's kind of just spitting, so that means it's foaming inside the power steering, which is the fluid, and it is just a standard BMW ATF style power steering fluid. So we're adding a cooler. So the cooler is going to be mounted somewhere, and I got to figure it out, but it'll be in the front area, so it has access probably down here, so it has the most airflow, because our oil cooler that we mounted has its own fans. So this does not need to be in a perfect spot, which is why I mounted it behind the crash bar. I also mounted it behind the crash bar in case he ever bumps anything. The crash bar will save it a little bit more than if it were mounted down below here, which could possibly see some debris. So I got to be careful. I may end up mounting the power steering cooler kind of in a little so it doesn't get damaged. So there's a couple different scenarios. It is small. So here's a quick list. We are going to the Glen. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Watkins Glen. It's one of the fastest tracks in this area as far as racing. It's wild. I've only seen it on videos, and I've only seen it in pictures. So it'll be a cool day. We are not sure if we're driving up night before or it's going to be day of. I don't know. It's a long ride, but we'll see. So this is just a basic list of what we got to prep and why it's here. This is normal every, I believe we're doing it every 2 or every 3 times at the track. We do full fluid services. I do an oil change every time. So we're doing an oil, or every 2 times. So we're doing oil service. I usually put an additive in because of the high mileage motor. I like to use Lucas. Lucas synthetic additive works great. It's kept this motor from burning any oil at all. So when we first got this car, it was prone to burn oil the first day at the track. We went through probably about a quart of oil in the day that we were there running at Lime Rock. So we started using Lucas oil additive, and I'll tell you right now, it doesn't burn a drop. So some of the smoke that comes out the tailpipe is only because it runs heavy on fuel, and that's because of the tune. We eliminated catalytic converters. It does not have downstream O2s, and it does not have air injection. Crankcase ventilation system is deleted. It all goes to its own catch can now. So taking all that out of the picture, this car wants to run heavy on fuel, and it will. So that's okay. I'm fine with that. More fuel, more air makes more power. Learn that someday. Throw in some timing in. Oh boy. So we're doing trans fluid this time. Transmission's been making noise, so every time I do the fluid change, we do an additive as well. I also use a Lucas additive in that because it takes an ATF fluid, so I do the Lucas ATF additive. That's quieted down the noise, and it's kept the transmission alive. Brake fluid. Every 3 times we do a brake fluid flush. The brakes get very hot. We use a really good Willwood brake fluid right now. I think he's switching to something else. He has it in the trailer. I can show you guys all the fluids we keep in stock. Rear diff fluid, we use Motul. The Motul, I think it's 7590 or 75140. I can't remember if it's synthetic or not. We have a whole bunch of it. He switches to that because it was tested and it's proven that it does not overheat as quickly as some of the Redline, I think, brand fluids. So we're doing the power steering cooler with the fluid. I'm doing full synthetic fluid this time. I'm also going to put an additive in that because it's overheating. With the cooler, it's going to be awesome, so I'm not even worried about it overheating anymore. Brake check, this is standard. I pull all the wheels. We do a full check on all the brakes, pads, rotors, everything, lines. I check all the bolts, and I'm not kidding. You gotta put a wrench, don't be lazy. Put a wrench, a socket, whatever you gotta do on every part of the braking components. If you have a failure in the brake system because you didn't feel like checking something, you're gonna have a problem. I don't want Edgar to ever get hurt. I built this car, I prepped this car, I wrenched this car. This car is like my car. So I treat it as if my child was driving this car. Edgar's not my child. That would be weird. But I treat it like family. So I don't want, you know, Edgar to have a problem. I don't want the car to have a problem. Sometimes you cannot get away from a problem. It is what it is. Things happen. So I want to make sure it's not something I did wrong or something I was lazy about. So don't be lazy. So full brake check. Now we have spare pads. Willwood's in the front. I believe they are power stops. No, they're Hawks in the rear. I'm sorry. Hawks in the rear. Brake pads get noisy. That's normal because of the material. Noisy doesn't really mean bad. But when I say check your brake pads, I mean pull the brake pad completely out of the caliper and check it for cracks. If it has heat cracks, throw it in the garbage. Do not use it. Rotors, same thing. Full inspection on the rotors. Check anything. I have safety wired rotors in the front because they're multi-piece type lightweight racing brake rotor from Willwood. I check all that. I make sure all the fasteners are tight. So that means etc. That's why I write that, because I know what to check. Suspension, like I said, it's Öhlins. Full nut check. Smiley face. I know you're laughing. What I mean by full nut check, just like with the brakes, grab, touch every single nut and bolt on the suspension because you never know. Vibration. This thing runs for a couple hours off and on all day. That's a lot of abuse when you're at 6,000 RPM constantly or in that area. So make sure you do a good job. Make sure you run through everything. So full nut check. Laugh, laugh. You guys can laugh. Full adjust. So adjustments, camber, toe, miscellaneous, caster. Caster is what it is. There's only so far I can go on that. But as far as the camber adjustments, so in the front, let me get my light. I need a light. Where's my light? Do it. You guys like my Arnold impersonation? So here, this is where we have adjustments on these shocks, or I'm sorry, these struts. So these holes, if I were to move the strut assembly forward, that would change my caster, but I don't want to move it forward. I want, on this car setup, we want as much caster as possible. Now, my camber adjustment right now is set to a certain point. The problem here is I can only get so much. I got to hog this plate out in order to get more out of the camber, which isn't a big deal, but you know, it's something that right now I don't believe is necessary because we are not running the car as hard as we would if we were racing it. So I believe in the front, I was able to achieve, I think, 3 point something degrees negative on the camber, which is good. Some guys run like 4.5, give or take. The rear, we have about 2.5. Those are fully adjustable lower bars. So that's an easy adjustment. This is a little bit more difficult because we're fully maxed. I have to get in here and actually hog this plate out. So this time around, because we're going to be running at Watkins, it's a fast track, I got to change a few things based on speed. This car does not go as fast as most of the other cars. It does not have the power, but it can handle, and it's zippy through the corners. So he can get in and out of the corner sections. He can get onto the straights. He just can't get the mile an hour because he doesn't have the RPM or the horsepower to do that. So there's a lot of little things, and what happens is you have toe adjustments and camber adjustments that can help you with that. So should I do less camber, less toe in, a little more toe out? It all depends, and I got to talk to a few people because I'm not super savvy race, track guy, road race guy. I'm drag race guy. So if you wanted to know something about drag racing, I could say, sure, what do you got? Ladder bar, 4-link, leaf spring, cow track, what do you got? So there's a lot of, radial, slicks. So there's a lot of different things. But with road racing, from what I've gathered with people's information, guys that we know, the camber adjustments are crucial, toe adjustments are crucial. Right now, because he's new to racing, I left the toe as a toe in. That's something we talked about with a gentleman that races, a friend of his, Kurt. Really good guy. He races, I believe, GTS 3. I think that's yeah. He has an M car and really nice BMW, full race, caged. It's nice. Car's nice. Car's fast. So he was giving me some kind of tips on what they used to do when he had more of a basic car like this. Toe in helps with the driver's handling, but realistically you want a little toe out with a faster car because of situations. You want a little more aggressive camber with a faster car because it can push through. This car can't, so I have to be careful with how much camber we give it. Too much camber, the car's gonna actually drag, and we don't want that. So that's really just it. And then you know, number one priority, obviously we talked about it already, safety check. Safety checks, number one priority. So that is the reason why we do everything else here, because we don't want to have a problem. So that's really it. I just wanted to give you a run through on race prep in the BMW. It gets a little boring when I'm going through things, but we'll get you some more involved videos when we get to the track. When I get to Watkins Glen, we're going to actually change tires. We're going to use a different tire that we have with less runs on it. We're going to burn these up because, like I said, these have 12 passes on them. Or I'm sorry, that's drag racing. We have 12 heat cycles on them. Heat cycles are every time you're on the track running the car. So that is now 12 times. These A7s are only good, I guess, for like 16. 14 to 16 is what we were told, but because we're not trying to compete for any kind of money or anything, or points, we're not worried about it. We want to see how far we can push. Well, I appreciate everybody. Thank you for watching. I'll have the next video up for the BMW will be us testing at Watkins Glen. That track's awesome. So I'm going to try to do some GoPro footage on the side of the car. I'm going to try to do some GoPro footage in the front of the car because that looked really good in the last video. And we'll do some inside cab, cockpit video of Edgar missing shifts. He's going to hate me for that one. All right. As always, thank you. I appreciate everybody. Subscribe, like, share. Tell your friends about it. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's pouring rain outside right now. Yeah. Sucks. That's okay. Little rain never hurt. See ya. Because that'll give us more data, so when we get to the track and start racing, we know when we got to throw these tires out. And I do mean throw them out because they're useless after that. So that's racing. So we have a spare set. We'll probably change those. This time at Watkins, I'm probably going to do a little more adjustments. Camber, probably a little bit different toe adjustment if we have to. Ride height adjustments based on how the car works. But Edgar's happy with it. But like I said, we might have an instructor go out there with him so he can push the car a little bit more and see how it handles. And then maybe we'll find out some more information. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I just wanted to kind of go through what my daily routine is sometimes here with the BMW, and you know what we do with it with a race prep. It's minor. It's really just servicing. That's all it is. It's just a service. It's like going to the dealer or to the repair shop and asking them to go through the car and service it. Who's calling me? Who's calling me? It's my brother. Hold on. All right, so started taking some things apart on the BMW. Took the splitter down, front bumper off. This is not normal. I don't normally do this, but if I need to get to something like the power steering, looks like we got a little bit of, it's dry. We'll check that out, see if we have a leak, but splitter's dry, that's good. Bumper's off. It all comes off pretty easy. Like I said, tires, we mark them where they came from. Look at the rubber that gets stuck, and that's just from pit driving when you start to slow down because they're so warm. So these tires, if you look at the indicators, are getting real low, but they still have life and they're still working, so they're good for what we need. And they're all actually wearing pretty even. So but up here, this is rubber that was inside the splitter, so that you can imagine how much rubber is lost. This isn't all from his car. Some of it is from the track. It kicks it up and it collects it on the splitter, unfortunately. But that's also over 2 hours worth of track time. So so far so good. I did find an issue looking at his brake These are the air ducts. They go to the brake coolers here. So it goes to the back of the rotor there, and then it goes to the front bumper openings in the front, but they're a little torn up. They're getting beat up. So we want to make sure the brakes stay cool. So these will be backups. We have spare tube right here. So I always have that. I have about 8 feet of it, so I'll use what I need. The other ones will end up being backups. But I wanted to show you the power steering cooler because it's a nice little setup. So this is a cooler kit from a company called Achilles Motorsports. Give them a shout out. And you can see you can order it for E46, E36, E30. And all it is just a tiny little cooler. Comes with all the hose, all the fittings, complete instructions on what you need to do. And I think we're gonna end up mounting this right about there. That's perfect. So it'll definitely not get damaged being right there. I think we'll be good to go. I got to keep it away. These are mounts for the fan, for my electric fan, so I got to keep it between those. And as you can see, electric fan there. So yeah, we're pretty good. And that's it. So race prep continues.